3. Nationalism in India. Introduction. Come on, let's sing this patriotic song. अपनी आजादी को हम हरगिज मिटा सकते नहीं, सर कटा सकते हैं लेकिन सर झुका सकते नहीं. Friends, do you know that we got freedom from the slavery of Britishers? To avail this independence, many of our leaders and brave heroes have faced a lot of difficulties, and then we achieved independence. All these leaders had the feelings of nationalism. Now let's understand when and how the feeling of nationalism rose. Nationalism means the feeling of nationality. But if we think deeply, it means a feeling of unity and pride. Nationalism refers to a condition, our readiness to sacrifice with all our possessions for our nation whenever the need arises for it. Nationalism, in its modern form, was first of all found to have been born and spread in Europe due to factors like Renaissance, Reformation, the American and French Revolution, and the unification of Italy and Germany. In India, it was due to the result of the arrival of the Europeans, such as the French, Portuguese, and the policies and methods adopted by British rulers. Factors influencing the feeling of nationalism include political factors, economic factors, transportation and communication, as well as education and literature and current newspapers. Political factors. Before the British, our country lacked political unity. India was divided into big and small kingdoms. Many kingdoms were brought under British rule by direct or indirect means, or by winning kingdoms one after another. The regions under the British were not peaceful. Hence, many factors led to revolts raised from time to time against the British rule. This presented a powerful challenge to their domination. Economic factors. Economic policy of the British ruined India completely. They took raw material from India and sold their ready-made products in the market. They imposed 70% to 80% of custom duty on Indian cotton and silk textiles, so that it would make them even costlier to be sold in the market. On the other hand, Indian trade and commerce was ruined as they levied low custom duty on England cloth and other products to make them cheaper. Indian artisans earned their livelihood through working on weaving machines in the cottage industry. The Indian cottage industry collapsed and could not compete with machine-made cheaper goods of England. As a result, the artisans turned towards agriculture for their livelihood. Like this, the burden on agriculture increased. In India, in those days, indigo, tea-coffee gardens were under British control. They exploited Indian peasants. Due to these economic reasons, zamindars, farmers, and artisans also joined the revolt. Transportation and telecommunication. Due to economic, political, and military reasons, railways, post, telegram, land, and waterways facilities were developed in India. Indians benefited from all this. The British initiated railways for their own benefit, but it came to be fruitful to Indians. As business class came into contact with artisans, give and take of information increased among them. Casteism and regional prejudice decreased due to rise in contact. Due to this, they came near to each other and the feeling of nationalism rose among them. National leaders easily propagated their ideas and plans to all classes of the society. Central leaders came into picture instead of regional leaders, which played a major role in the achievement of Swarajya. Literature and education. Education and literature played a major role in the Indian nationalism. All reformation by the British in India were for their use, but they all proved a blessing for the Indians. English educated class became aware of the world affairs, which played a major role in the social reformation and national awareness. Lot of literature of the world was in English. Indians learned English, and due to this, they acquainted themselves with democracy from the American Independence Revolution and liberty, equality, and fraternity from the French Revolution. They became self-reliant. Many novels, plays, and poetry were written. All this literature propagated the idea of patriotism. Time to discuss. Did the English education prove to be fruitful or not? Discuss the topic in the class. Activity. Students will list out the names of Indian leaders who brought awareness in the nation with reformation. Newspapers. Current newspapers played a major role in the propagation of national awareness. Newspapers printed in Bengal, Mumbai, Madras, and other provinces criticized the wrong deeds of the government and created the feeling of nationalism among Indians. These papers frequently highlighted the unjust administrative policy of the British government and encouraged the Indians to unite. Time to think. Can you think how daily newspapers would have evolved patriotic feelings among Indians? Daily newspapers often criticized the unjust administrative policy of the British government and encouraged Indians to unite. These papers were even published in regional languages, and the news inculcated the feeling of patriotism. It played a major role in creating public opinion. It also played a major role in initiating movements like the Home Rule movement. People became aware and came near to one another, and this created patriotic feelings. Magnificent heritage of India. India has gifted the entire world with its glorious and prosperous heritage. Ancient archaeologists, Cunningham and his officials excavated at many sites in India and explored immense remains of cultural and glorious heritage. We could see samples such as architectural and artistic engraving. The best examples of engraved art are the religious inscriptions of Emperor Ashoka. The engraved pillar inscription and the Sarnath pillar is a great example of art. The Indian archaeologist Bhagwan Lal Indraji had explored and introduced a lot of ancient remains to Indian cultural heritage. By exploring our glorious literature, Indians became aware with its pride. These literature of Panini, Patanjali, Kautilya, etc. are world famous. Facts to know. Western scholars like Max Muller, Wilson, Ferguson, Bhullar, Flitt, and Indian scholars like Rajendra Lal Mitra, Ramkrishna Bhandarkar, Harprasad Shastri, etc. explain to people the importance of Indian Vedas, Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Gita, and the Smriti Puran. Establishment of Indian National Congress. A retired English officer named A. O. Hume felt that if the dissatisfaction of Indians would not be settled, the English rule would be in trouble. Hence, he immediately talked to Viceroy Dufferin and presented the plan of creating the Indian Constitutional Organization. As a result, due to his efforts, the Indian National Congress was established in December 1885 AD. Under the leadership of Vyomesh Chandra Banerjee, the first session of Indian National Congress was held on 28th December 1885 AD at the Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit Pathshala in Mumbai. About 72 representatives attended it. Among the prominent leaders were Sir Firoz Shah Mehta, Dadabhai Nauroji, Badruddin Tayyabji, K.T. Telang, A.O. Hume, Dinshaw Vacha, Lala Muralidhar, Veer Raghavacharya, and Ranganath Naidu. This session continued for a total of 4 days. Many of the country's problems were discussed. In total, 9 resolutions were passed in this session. Facts to know. These were the formal regional organizations of the Indian National Congress. Bengal British Indian Association in Kolkata, Madras Native Sabha in Chennai, Sarvajanik Sabha in Pune, Bombay Association in Mumbai, Indian Association in Kolkata. A.O. Hume joined the Bengal government job in 1849 AD and served for 32 years in Hind. Under the leadership of Dadabhai Nauroji, the Second Congress Conference was held at Kolkata in December 1886 AD with 432 representatives. The Third Congress Conference was held in Madras, Chennai, under the leadership of Badruddin Tayyabji in the year 1887 AD. It had 607 representatives. The Fourth Congress Conference was held under the leadership of George Yule in 1888 AD, and the Fifth Congress Conference was held in 1889 AD under the leadership of William Wedenberg. All these representatives were mostly educated and belonged to the middle class. Indian National Congress 1885 to 1905 in the initial stages. Activities in its first phase were constitutional. The Congress demanded political rights. Along with that, educational development, economic and social development were also taken into consideration. All these demands went waste, but laid a strong foundation for future struggles. Due to all these demands, the army was restructured, and many Indians were now increased in government jobs. In the interest of making economic development easier, the Congress demanded to come out of the major problems of India, to reduce poverty. Economically backward farmers should be provided relief in the repayments of debts and tax relief during droughts. Cottage industries should be promoted by providing aid to the artisans and by reviving them. In order to generate employment opportunities, professional and technical education should be promoted. Congress passed a resolution to eradicate or bring awareness to the social problems, social discrimination, and injustice. On account of the efforts made by the Congress, government removed the restriction on newspapers and enacted laws granting individual freedom and freedom of speech. It also took the steps for the spread and growth of education. Activity. Student will visit any social organization and understand its functioning.